my name is Brooklyn Wilkins. I am the Royal International Miss Canada Teen 2020, and welcome to the 5th episode of Royal Readings. Today we are reading probably one of my absolute favorite childhood stories, and one that I guarantee everyone at home knows about. I am of course talking about the classic Cinderella by Walt Disney. This princess was one of my favorites growing up. I remember all the time when I was just a little girl, 3 or 4, I would get out my poofiest princess costume and refuse to take it off for days on end because I wanted to be just like Cinderella. But what does it mean to be Cinderella? We'll be talking about that today's lesson, as well as reading the story. So if you have a copy of the famed novel, go ahead and grab it now to join along. So Cinderella by Walt Disney. Once upon a time, there was a girl named Cinderella. She lived with her stepmother. The stepmother did not like Cinderella. She made her work very hard every day. Cinderella had 2 stepsisters. Their names were Drizella and Anastasia. The stepsisters never had to do work. They just pranced around the house in their fancy dresses. And they always made fun of Cinderella because her dress was so plain. One day, a letter came to the house. "Drizella! Anastasia!" cried the stepmother. "Listen to this." She read the letter. It said, "The king is giving a ball tonight. His son, the prince, will choose a wife. Every girl in the kingdom must be there." "Then I can go too," said Cinderella. "You!" cried the stepsisters, and they laughed and laughed. "But it says every girl in the kingdom must be there," said Cinderella. The stepmother smiled and said, "Of course you may go, Cinderella. You may go if you do your work first, and if you have a dress to wear." "Oh, thank you," said Cinderella, and she ran up to her room. Some mice lived in Cinderella's room. They were Cinderella's friends. She had even made little clothes for them. "Guess what?" she cried. "I'm going to a ball at the palace." "Hooray!" cried the mice. Then she showed them an old dress. "It just needs a little mending," said Cinderella, "and maybe a sash and some beads to make it pretty." "Yes, yes, Cinderella," said the mice. "Cinderella!" called the stepmother. Cinderella went downstairs. "I want you to clean the floor and wash the windows and dust the drapes," said the stepmother. "But I did that yesterday," said Cinderella. "Do it again," said the stepmother. Cinderella worked as fast as she could, but there was always one more thing to do. "Cinderella! Cinderella! Cinderella!" "Oh dear," said Cinderella. "I'll never have time to mend my dress." "They make Cinderella work, work, work," said a fat mouse named Gus. "She will have no time to fix her dress," said a skinny mouse named Jack. "We can do it," cried the mice. "We can fix Cinderella's dress." Gus and Jack sneaked into a big room. The stepsisters were dressing for the ball. "I hate this old sash," said Drizella, and she threw it down. "I never want to see these beads again," said Anastasia, and she dropped them on the floor. Jack grabbed the sash, and Gus picked up the beads. They took them to Cinderella's room. "Look, we found these," said Gus. "Now we can make Cinderella's dress really pretty," said Jack. They measured, they cut. They folded, they sewed. They worked and worked as fast as they could. The hours went by quickly. Cinderella had to help the stepsisters with their dresses. When she was done, the stepmother said, "It is time to go to the ball, girls. Are you ready, Cinderella?" "No," said Cinderella sadly. "I did not have time to fix my dress." "Too bad," said the stepsisters. "You must learn to work faster," said the stepmother. They watched Cinderella go up to her room. When Cinderella opened the door, she saw something wonderful. Her dress was ready. "Surprise!" cried the mice. "It is the prettiest dress I've ever seen," said Cinderella, and she put it on. Cinderella ran down the stairs. "Wait!" she called. "I can go now. I have a dress." The stepmother and the stepsisters could not believe their eyes. "My sash!" cried Drizella. "My beads!" cried Anastasia. They ripped off the sash and pulled off the beads. Cinderella's dress was ruined. "Come along, girls," said the stepmother. "The prince is waiting for you." And off they went to the palace. Cinderella was left behind. Cinderella ran into the garden. The mice ran after her. "How I did wish to go to the ball," said Cinderella, "but it is no use. Wishes never come true." "Never, my dear?" said a voice. Cinderella looked up. There was a little woman with a wand. "I am your fairy godmother," she said. "I am here to give you your wish." "Now let me see," said the fairy godmother. "I need a pumpkin and a horse and a dog. What luck! They are right here. And yes, I will need some mice." When the mice heard this, they began to run. But the fairy godmother stopped them with her wand. "Now for the magic words," she said. "Bippity, boppity, boo!" She waved her wand. The pumpkin turned into a coach. The horse turned into a coachman. The dog turned into a footman. And the mice turned into white horses. "Now hop in, my dear," said the fairy godmother. "But my dress," said Cinderella. "Oh my," said the fairy godmother. "I almost forgot." She waved her wand again. Cinderella looked down. Her dress turned into a white gown. Her shoes turned into glass slippers. "Oh, thank you," said Cinderella. "Now hop into the coach," said the fairy godmother. "But remember, all the magic ends when the clock strikes 12. "I won't forget," said Cinderella, and off she went to the palace. At the ball, the king was complaining. "The prince has met all these girls in the kingdom," he said, "and he has not found one he likes." "Give him time," said the Grand Duke. "He has had enough time," cried the king. Just then, Cinderella came into the ballroom. When the prince saw her, he bowed. "May I have this dance?" he asked. "Yes," said Cinderella. All night the prince danced, only with Cinderella. They danced around the floor as if in a dream. Everyone said, "How lovely she is! Who can she be?" The hours went by quickly. Suddenly the clock began to strike midnight. Cinderella ran down the palace steps. As she ran, she lost a glass slipper. When the prince reached the steps, Cinderella was gone. he picked up the tiny slipper. "The girl who wore this slipper is the girl I want to marry," said the prince. He told the Grand Duke to find her. Even before Cinderella was home, the magic ended. The coach turned back into a pumpkin, the coachman back into a horse, the footman back into a dog. And there were Cinderella and the mice, just as before. The next day, the Grand Duke took the glass slipper to every house in the kingdom. At last, he came to the house where Cinderella lived. Cinderella was up in her room. First, Drizella tried on the slipper, but her foot was much too long. Then Anastasia tried on the slipper, but her foot was much too wide. "Are there any other girls in this house?" said the Grand Duke. "No," said the stepmother. Just then Cinderella came down the stairs. "Who is this?" said the Grand Duke. "She is only the maid," said the stepmother. "I don't care," said the Grand Duke. "She too must try on the slipper." It fit perfectly. Oh, have a bit of her time. There we go. Then Cinderella reached in her pocket and pulled out the other glass slipper. The Grand Duke bowed to Cinderella. "You are the girl the prince says he must marry," said the Grand Duke. So Cinderella went to the palace and married the prince, and they lived happily ever after. The end. So in Cinderella's story, there are so many different messages that we could focus on. Cinderella herself is an extremely kind and hardworking person in comparison to her stepsisters. It's that kindness and dedication and hard work that truly makes her beauty shine, both on the inside and out. But that's not the message we'll be focusing on today. Today, we are going to talk about dreams and wishes. The true story of Cinderella is all about just always believing in your dreams and working hard to make them come true. Cinderella had almost given up hope the night of the ball when her fairy godmother came in and helped make her wish come true. Now, unfortunately, in real life, we don't all have fairy godmothers. But what we do have is ourselves and the support of our friends and family around us. You can be your own fairy godmother. With enough dedication and hard work, you can make any dream you have come true. It just takes time, it takes patience, and it takes perseverance, which means to keep going even on the times that you fail. Because just like with Cinderella, there will be times when your dream seems impossible, when it seems like all the odds are against you. But then you'll pull through in the end with just one more push, with just a little bit more time. Things will be okay again. And eventually, your dream will come true. Today's activity is something that will not only help your confidence, but also really, really help you get that motivation and really imagine your dream and you in the position of your dream, of accomplishing your dream. So what I want you to do is grab a piece of paper and write down the words, "I am." And then beneath that, write down the position of your dream. So for mine, I'm writing down, "I am the Royal International Miss Teen 2020-2021, because that's the dream I plan to accomplish this summer. For you, it could be anything, absolutely anything. It could be anything from as small as I am a artist, if you're planning on working on your art skills, or anything as big as I am a best-selling author, I am Miss Universe, I am an honors student, I am a professor, I am an astronaut, just absolutely anything. Then from there, I want you to just draw you in that position. Now, this may be difficult for some people, as not everyone is as artistically inclined as others, but it doesn't matter. The whole point of this isn't to have a very perfect drawing, it's to just have fun with it. You want something that when you look at it, you'll smile. And when we think about our dreams, they shouldn't be something that makes you stressed or anxious. It should be something that you're happy about, you're looking forward to, you're super, super passionate about. And that's exactly the emotion you want to get from this drawing. So for me, I drew actually my crowning moment from the National Canadian Pageant. There's this wonderful picture where I'm smiling nice and bright and looking up at the crown as my as the previous title holder placed it on my head. So I just switched the crowns and the sashes, but kept everything else the same for the picture. I had a lot of fun doing this, and I think I actually only spent roughly an hour to half an hour on the drawing itself. But when I was a kid, what inspired me for this activity was I found a drawing that I drew when I was 5 that said "Me in the Show" at the top of it. And the drawing was done in crayon of a little stick figure girl on a stage with a spotlight. And it just made me so happy to know that even then I had goals and I was willing to do whatever I needed to accomplish them, to just be a star. Back then I wanted to be an actress. That was my number one goal. Of course, my dreams have since changed, but though theater is still extremely important to me. I hope you enjoyed this activity and that you all enjoyed drawing you in your dream and having that visualization moment. Hopefully, when you do this, it really helps drive in the fact that you are capable of doing anything you set your mind to. So much for joining me in today's episode of Royal Readings. It was such a pleasure to share such a huge part of my childhood with all of you, and I hope you remember to just keep on believing and chasing those dreams and putting in the work to make those dreams a reality. Thank you so much. Have a great day, and remember to love each other and stay kind.